right, everybody, what's going on? It's Father Patch coming at you live on the Big Time Holy Hour with my co-host,
Big Time Reggie Lincoln here.
And I got two special guests with me today. I've got
one special guest.
I got one special guest and another guy who works backstage here with me today.
Yeah, whoever this guy is.
Today is May 20th. We're at Squared Circle Pro live for what's the name of the show today?
Ring Wars.
Ring Wars.
Reggie Lincoln's birthday tour. What do you think it's called?
Ring Wars episode 34, was it? I don't guess I saw the first 33. But we're here to talk.
It's the 34th episode of SCP since our inception.
Oh, okay.
It's our 34th event.
Oh, okay.
So it's episode 34.
I thought maybe there was a little meaning behind that.
Well, if you're not a Star Wars fan, you probably won't get it.
Huge Star Wars fan. Huge Star Wars fan. Half my characters developed because of Vader, actually.
That's why I'm kind of upset I wasn't on this flyer. I love Star Wars.
They thought about putting you in the Family Guy R2-D2 outfit with your throw and everything.
That'd been pretty cool.
Okay, anyway, we're sitting here with Squared Circle Pro owner and director of operations, Rick Elsey, a pure genius in the world of independent wrestling.
Yes.
So we're going to do a little get-to-know-him section here with him, and we've also got Josh Ryan as a backstage analyst for Squared Circle Pro.
Yeah, whatever the hell.
And so we're going to take a little time and talk to him and, pick his brain, Rick's, that is.
Dude.
I'm talking about Rick's brain. We're going to pick Rick's brain and find out a little bit.
That's a lot of brain to pick.
So tell us a little bit about Squared Circle Pro. When was the inception of that, and when did that start, what year, and how long you been running?
Squared Circle Pro was born in July of 2011. It came about because a wrestling promotion in Amarillo, Texas called WWA went out of business in January of 10, and another promotion came up in its place called AEW that only was doing spot shows around Amarillo, mostly in Plainview, places like that. And they stopped running. They were only running very sporadically. And a lot of the guys were missing having a place to work that they actually wanted to work.
Right, yeah.
And so David Valentine and Brett Granger decided to put together SCP. They asked me to come be the booker. I was booking WWA. So they brought me on board to book. And we had our first show on September of 2011.
Hello.
Right. We're joined by Lady Domino up here.
How are you? I'm good. How are you?
From Rampage Wrestling.
So we've technically been running for 6 years. This coming September will be 6 years.
6 years.
Now, in that time frame, we had a 1.5 year hiatus where we did not have shows because we lost our venue.
Was this the venue?
This was the venue.
Jake's back room.
We had a situation take place where we lost Jake's back room. We had another venue set up. It fell through.
Right.
And so we weren't able to run. And then we came back in 2015.
Right. That's cool. I came around here. Well, my first exposure to this was in September of 2015. I came up here to actually borrow y'all's ring to do a show the next day in San Angelo. And you approached me about working here like a couple days later. And you actually mentioned I don't know if you heard the first podcast, but we actually mentioned you. And you were the reason that my character is taken off the way it has, because Father Patch was always kind of a goofy asshole heel. And then you were the one that came up and said, why don't you go dark with it? And dude, I've gotten so many more bookings.
I love your character.
Ever since I went dark, so thanks for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
And it works. I'm winning titles everywhere I go. And
what is it? You have like what?
I have 2 right now. But
you have the MSWA.
I have the MSWA Undisputed Oklahoma Championship and then the BCW Tag Team Championship.
Nice.
So, I mean, not that I need a lot to make me look a lot better, but that helps.
Well, I've always been a big believer in characters. Characters that's always been my big influence. When I was a young kid growing up, my first exposure to wrestling, real exposure to wrestling, was television wrestling, and it was coming at the time that Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling was coming out. And at that time in WWF, everyone was a character, and they were all different. Nobody looked the same. Now, locally in Amarillo, the Funks were running their territory, and I had gone to some matches in the late 70s with, as a child. Matter of fact, the very first match I ever saw at the sports arena in Amarillo, the main event of that show was Andre the Giant versus the original Sheik.
Oh, wow.
And that match scared the hell out of me.
I bet.
Like, as a child, literally scared the hell out of me, because they brawled everywhere, and it was absolutely frightening. Because that was back in the day when you literally believed everything you saw. And this was a 7'5" guy, and a dude that liked to throw fire and stab people with pencils.
Yeah.
So that's pretty frightening and traumatic for a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that was my first real exposure to it. But once I started to understand and really gain an appreciation was during the character era of the rock and wrestling.
So can I ask you, you said the Andre the Giant original Sheik was your first match. Were you like hooked after that?
Absolutely.
You were like, I gotta have.
But my father wouldn't take me.
He wouldn't take you to the show?
He wouldn't take me. So I had to go with friends whenever my friends would go. Like my friend's family would go, they'd sneak me in. We'd go. So I probably saw 4 or 5 total shows at the sports arena before they stopped running. Because once Terry and Dory went to WWF in 85, 86, they pretty much stopped running regular shows. So
my first one was I'm like you. I started watching on TV. My mom was a huge Hulkamaniac, and I started watching when I was 4 years old, and just became obsessed with Hulk Hogan. Because him and my dad kind of looked a lot alike. So I was like, but yeah, I was a big fan. And my first show I went to wasn't as kick-ass as the one you're talking about. I went to a WCW show in Tulsa, and the main event was the Giant and Goldberg. So take that for what you want.
Well, and I will, understanding that I'm 45 years old, the majority of the people that I work with are anywhere from 10 to 15 years younger than me.
Right.
So their first exposures were the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah.
Whereas by the time the Monday Night War came, I was, almost a 20-year vet of watching wrestling.
Yeah.
So I had seen so much more than what the Monday Night Wars were. That's kind of why the reasons why I'm not one of the people who buys into the theory that the Monday Night War was the best period ever in wrestling. Because I actually think the Monday Night War hurt the business more than anything that has ever come before.
It was just the era that we grew up on.
Yeah.
And again, without the Monday Night War, we never would have had the Attitude Era. So.
Well, that's what that Monday Night War was, the Attitude Era. And ECW started that.
We were talking about
and I'll tell you this, as a fan, I remember when ECW first started because everybody, both WCW and WWF, were so cartoonish that ECW was the only thing on television that looked more adult, looked like something that
looked real.
As somebody in their 20s and was tired of having their intelligence insulted, I gravitated to that because I was their primary demographic. And so, but what that actually did, if you trace everything back, a lot of the things that people gripe about today with wrestling is a fan entitlement is one of the biggest things, like fans that don't know when not to chant stuff, or fans that are just too demanding, they're too smart, that they don't like anything, they gripe about everything.
Roman Reigns.
Well, the first promotion to empower and entitle the fans was ECW.
Oh yeah.
That's where it all started. So if you really want to blame something, blame that, because that's where it started.
You make a great point there.
Yeah, that's actually.
You make a great point.
Never really thought about that. Reggie, you had a question for Rick, didn't you?
Why aren't you in Impact, man? Like, why aren't you in WWE or Impact?
I tell them that all the time, but
because you have such a genius mind for this.
Okay,
I really do.
I can answer that question very, very plainly. Unless you have a foot in the door with someone, like knowing someone, or unless you have some type of college degree with working background in television or TV writing, no major promotion is going to look at you for creative. And like, for instance, one of the main writers for years for TNA was David Lagana. David Lagana started as an ECW fan, and he got his foot in the door. Him, Gabe Sapolsky, and a bunch of others, who was Ring of Honor booker forever, does the Evolve stuff now. They all got their foot in the door working for Heyman. And through there, they all got jobs with other places, and it just grew and grew and grew. But that's how they got in. They had a foot in the door already. But then you've got the majority of the people that WWE hires today. They want people who have former TV experience, former TV writing. They want people with college educations, and honestly, truthfully, if you look at what they do versus what I do, I am very comfortable in a small promotion with a small crowd, intimate setting where I have mine is the only creative direction, honestly. I mean, every once in a while, Granger wants to throw something in or steer me in a certain direction, he will. But for the most part, I would say about 98% control over what we do. In that environment, I would be one of about 24 guys who would sit around the table pitching ideas, and if one of them even got on the piece of paper that Vince finally reads, there's no guarantee it would go on television.
Right.
And if it did, it would probably be watered down and completely changed.
Yeah.
And I don't want to work in that environment.
Yeah.
I don't want to work in that environment.
And I feel like the whole PG era nowadays would kind of like affect the way, because I've been involved with wrestling for 3 years. I've seen your mentality, and I've seen the way you run shows. I feel like, I feel like the whole PG era with the whole WWE and all that, I feel like that would greatly affect your, not necessarily mindset, so to say, but the way you do, because I see the way you do things. You do things to where, yes, we're family friendly, but you're not afraid to go the R-rated route, so to say.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not trying to set out to offend anybody, okay? I like to push the envelope, but I'm not willing to set it on fire and shove it off the table. Because that's not productive. Now, and I learned that at WWA, because there were many times at WWA where we had something on paper and we thought, man, this is going to be amazing. And then we went out there and did it in the ring, and it backfired, and like horribly, and we offended people left and right. And so, yeah, I had to learn the difference between, okay, that sounds cool, but is it really productive? And so what I try to do here is, yes, we have all ages can come. Under 16 has to have an adult with them, because we do have a parental advisory. We are technically an R-rated product.
Yeah.
I would call us an R-rated.
Absolutely.
But I'm not trying to get to NC-17 area, and I'm not trying to get to X-rated.
Right.
Because I understand, what my boundaries are. And for instance, I'll just throw this out here. I search the internet all the time, looking at different promotions that my workers work at, and I'm always trying to network and find different people. Well, I got onto a website because of 3 people that I know that have worked for a company. I believe they are called Freak Show Wrestling. And I got on their website, and I started looking at some of their characters. Let me tell you something. They have some amazing characters that I think I could do tons of wonderful things with these characters, but every single one of them would run off portions of my crowd. Like there's one called Gadolf Hitler and the Rainbow Reich. I want to book those guys so bad I can't even see straight. But I'm not willing to sacrifice a portion of my crowd who would be mortally offended.
They're out of Vegas, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, my goal is to put butts in seats.
Right.
I actually 2 goals. I want to put a butt every 18 inches, and I want to make sure that everybody who works on my show has a productive time, has a fun time, and grows with every performance. That's my goal. I don't have a personal agenda.
Right.
I'm working to get people over. So I would like to do some things, but it's not worth it.
I want to say something about how you work here. I like you do something that a lot of places don't do anymore. A lot of places just do shows and have matches for the sake of having matches.
Yep.
It's an episodic storytelling kind of thing here.
Right.
It's because I've been on the same story since I've been here, and it's been nothing but progressive since January of last year. You're building my character up, you're building all these characters. There's reasons they keep doing these things, and it builds to a story and ultimate culmination at some point. But then
I just gotta say that too.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I love how everybody is being built in the company. Like it's not like certain promotions like well, we're bringing this guy in just to help make this guy look good, or just a job to this guy, anything like that, because we want to push this guy. No, everybody is getting built in their own way.
Well, there's always reasons behind it.
There's a story with everybody.
And that's one thing that I can appreciate, because a lot of promoters nowadays, they'll just do a show for having matches for the sake of having matches.
Well, see, and that's another thing, is that one of my philosophies is I want to build a roster that gels with each other. I want to build a good atmosphere, and I don't feel like if you're continually rotating people in and out, you don't give people a chance to build relationships. And I think that because our business is reliant on everybody helping everybody else, you've got to build a relationship with people. And that's why I'm very picky about the people who come in and out of my locker room, because I want to make sure that people understand why we're here, what agenda we're working on, and at the same time, it doesn't behoove me or my product or my fan base to not try and strive to get everyone over, to continually push. And there's a lot of people who say, and they're right, that you can't have a locker room full of superstars. At some point, you got to have somebody that takes loss. But I truly believe that you can lose on a show and still look good. You can lose without burying your character. It's all about how it happens, how it's plotted, where it's going. If you know what you're doing for the next 4 months, it's easier to make one moment look right if you know where it's going, because you have that long-term mentality of everything I do here is going to mean something here. So if you knock this out of the park, it makes that so much easier to move forward.
Absolutely.
And I have to tell things episodically because I have an episodic mind. And I'm uncomfortable with spot shows. Spot shows freak me out. I don't like spot shows, because if you're asking people to come invest, I mean, most movies have sequels. Okay? Almost any movie that's a hit has a sequel or is part of a franchise. Very seldom do you ever have one-shots that are major mega successes that don't have a part 2 or part 3 or part 4 or a spin-off. But it's very few and far between.
Some type of continuation.
I mean, obviously you can't have a sequel to Titanic because the ship sank.
They
did kind of in a way.
Stupid.
I don't know if we ever count that as a sequel, but that would be kind of stuff.
I'm talking about on the same level. You can't have another one at that $700 million level. So what I'm saying is that for spot shows, for me, I have to be able to do something here that's going to drag you out 60 days later and still want to come see how this finishes. Because starting the story here and ending the story here on one show, it just drives me crazy. It's like watching one episode of a series and never turning it back on again.
Exactly. That's actually a great.
It drives me nuts. I can't handle it.
Yeah, Reggie and I were actually talking about this on the way up here. It was either on the way up here or on the way up yesterday to Oklahoma. We were talking about how we wish that more of the promoters we worked for were like you in that aspect, because some places we go have matches for the sake of having a match, or whatever. But see, the thing is, if I go out there and I'm putting on a story for these people, I don't want the story to be just in that 10-minute time frame. I want there to be a reason for them to come back. Like, is Patch going to get his ass whipped this week? Or is he going to keep finding a way?
That's pretty much what me and him both do. Like in places like Oklahoma, like we'll say something to do something and keep him like, you know what? I want to come back and see this guy get his ass kicked.
And the thing is that they keep doing with us, like with me in Oklahoma, is like, they keep putting me over, and they keep putting asses in the seats. Like, maybe this is the week, when Patch is going to get his just dessert. And then, I'm not, I've lost some matches up there, but I did, like you said, I got there and told a good story. I got completely over in the match, but I lost the match. And wins and losses don't mean shit to me, as long as the match looks good. You know what I mean? I was trained that way. At first, I was kind of butthurt. I was like, because when you're a kid and you're dreaming about this, you're like, I'm going to win all my matches.
You want to be a superstar. You want to be the Superman.
But then when you actually know the business and you realize these, the aspects of it, you're just like, oh, okay, well, I'm here to tell a story. I'm here to do that with my body and my actions. And, wins, losses, like I said, I don't care. It doesn't bother me none. I've been fortunate enough to win most of my matches, but either way, like I had a great match here about a year ago. I was in that 6-man elimination tag match, and I was kicking everybody's ass, and then it came down to me and Gregory James, and he went over on me. And like I
Yeah,
felt
my
a bigger
debut
part.
match.
I felt a bigger part of that pop that he got for beating me, as he did for winning it. You know, and I couldn't have been happier with it.
Because he couldn't have gotten over on the pop if you hadn't been there for him to.
Right.
And on
to
top of
push
that,
him
they
over.
already hated you because I was doing so well in the match. Then you just took me out like that.
Yeah, you got sucker punched and I rolled you up. I mean,
They hated that. They hated you for that.
yeah.
Some of the hardest things is trying to get people to invest in characters and in people's stories. So you have to make sure that you plot it out so that you give the fans a reason to emotionally invest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I could write it down all day long and I could plot it out. But if the workers don't commit to it,
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, Reggie had every time I've used Reggie, I'm fairly certain he's lost.
Yeah.
And
about.
he's been in this team with Morales, and even though the team is getting over and the crowd is behind them, they just haven't been able to make it work.
Yeah.
But they're building an emotional tether.
Yeah.
At the time that they're not seeing success, but they have support.
Yeah. Yeah. They go.
And so
The whole no chemistry.
whatever
story.
happens next with the story, the crowd's going to react the way that we want because we know at this point they're invested in the team. So they're going to feel the same things he feels, same things that Tony Morales feels.
Right.
And that means that we've done our job. I've done my job as the booker to lay it out, and they've done their job as the workers to connect to the crowd. And as long as everybody's doing their job, it's easy to tell an episodic story.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I gotta say, like, you know, I mean, these stories that you've had me involved in, like, so far, like, the just trying to, you know, basically take over Squared Circle talent by talent kind of thing has been great. And then when you approached me with the angle of going super dark, and then you told me I'm gonna have these powers and I'm gonna have all this stuff, and I was just like, man, this is fucking great, you know. And I was like, I can't wait to like possess people, like, you know. Like, so then when the very
But you want to do that. There's people that want to sell it.
yeah, the very first one I did was Ricky Graves when I put the mask on him. I got a hell of a negative response from the crowd because they love Ricky, you know, and he was always able to get
He
away
was their
from me.
hero.
So like and let's talk about that story. That was great. If you look at the story that you told with me, it was I was always close to getting Ricky and I never could. So I waited. If you look at the story, I waited until he got beat by Skip, and he was all alone in the ring. And then what did I do? I had my faceless minions surround him and beat the living shit out of him. And then we fucking did the possession thing. And it was just like great. Like I was still watching, gets goosebumps. I'm like, that's me up there fucking saving the soul of Ricky Graves.
See, and the fun part about that is that, you know, you turned him into your thrall.
Mhm.
He's creepy as all get out now.
Oh yeah.
You know, he hangs upside
His
down from
entrance
the
is
ropes.
great.
His entrance, you know, he hangs there like a dead body. You know, he's got a creepy mask. You know, he's the
I miss
wretched.
his
You know,
hammer.
he's this thrall of Padge.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, he's kind of been pushed into the background.
Yeah.
And he was a character that they loved.
Oh yeah, he was one of the
So
biggest characters.
if we do something now with him to where we change that character slightly for the better, he's going to get a reaction.
Yeah.
Because we took him away from them. If we end up doing something that gives him back, he'll get the according, you know, he'll get the acknowledgement accordingly from the crowd, because we already developed that tether to him and then we clipped it off.
If you go back and you watch, and I'll find you the clip, I want you to see it. There's a couple of kids in the crowd crying when I did that to it.
I don't doubt it. It's hard to watch your
And
favorite
you're
guy.
pretty scary, honestly.
You are.
I get
You
that.
scare the hell out of children.
Well, and the thing is that I thought that you had a great look. And I thought, okay, he's already doing the Father Padge thing, so that's already been established. I don't have to do anything with that because I know what he is. But if we just took this one step further into a dark area, give him the proper entrance song, which is a creepy song.
It is creepy.
Give him the proper lighting. Then, you know, coming up with the faceless ones. You know, if you have this almost Undertaker meets Bray Wyatt entrance, then you're meshing two different genres, two different eras together. Then, you know, you're giving it this fresh outlook. And I really think that your character's entrance, when you really debuted all of that, I think it was definitely a turning point.
Yeah, it was.
And the crowd, because I'll never forget the reaction the first time that the Faceless Ones came out.
Yeah.
The crowd was absolutely taken aback, silent, because this was the darkest thing they'd ever seen in this building.
Right.
That's true.
And like with it, like, I remember calling you and asking you, because it was your character idea, and I said, "Hey, you cool if I use this everywhere else I go?" And you're like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Do it. It's great.
You've done it ever
And I've
since.
done it everywhere I go. Like, if you catch my promos that I make and shit, they're all dark.
Yeah,
There's
every one
nothing
of them.
funny about
I've
it.
watched them, and you
Yeah.
use the same voice and the same talking, and it's the same stuff. Yeah,
And I have a lot of friends that are like, "Can I be in your vignettes and stuff?"
I want to be in that group.
Like the one where I killed that guy by the fire. Those are my
Your samurai sword
Yeah,
one.
those are people that live out on my property. They're like, "Can we goth up?" And I'm like, "Well, do it." And I mean, take a look. And they came over, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm gonna use that. That looks great." Gothic as shit. Like. And then with I wanted to go super dark, and I played the one for my wife, and she goes, "Really?" And I was like, "What?" She goes, "Murder." And I was like,
"Well, you hear the screen go black, and you hear the guy screaming."
Yeah, I was like, well, I mean, Abyss killed a guy on that fucking Hardy's thing. I said, I think that you're not seeing me do it. The screen goes black right as the sword comes down. You just hear a scream, and then the words come up. The power of patch compels you. By the way, I gotta give Josh here props for that because he told me to say that.
Yeah, I'm the one who came up with the power of patch compels you.
He wanted me to say that, and I kept forgetting all the time. And so finally, one time, I said it after that first match with Jordan Caleb. And by the way, man, I'm having so much fun working with him. Like I'm really ready to.
Oh yeah. I mean, I get abused constantly doing it. I mean, I love the interview. I think the last interview I did, you told me I didn't even speak your entire interview. Yeah. I didn't want to. I pretty much said you would cut me off, tell me to shut up.
Yeah, we did that show for that promotion, Rise, and he wanted to interview Mikey, who I was working first, who I was working. He interviewed him first, and then me. And then after I totally played off of what Josh did with Mikey because he gave him a high five. And then you just see me coming out of frame holding my belt, and I'm just like, really? You're going to give my opponent a high five? Does that seem unbiased to you? And he's about to answer me, and I'm like, shut up,
Josh.
You know I don't like it when you speak. So I did the whole interview myself.
Pretty much.
And then as I'm leaving, he's like, all right, Rise fans. And then you hear me from around the corner, I said shut up.
Less than 5 seconds later.
That's the great thing about Square Circle. That's the great thing about Rick. Even Josh here has a story. He's just in the back.
One thing, Rick, I told you this before. This is something you told me a long time ago. You go to all these other promotions, and they're very picky about who they let into their part. Basically, if you're not a wrestler, they don't want anything to do with you. You told me a long time ago that there's a spot for everybody in this business. You can make a spot, you can find a spot, whether it be referee, whether it be ring crew, security, sound production, backstage interviews, wrestlers, and you're always willing to take people in, and you're always willing to make somebody a part of the show, whether it be a big 5-star part or whether it be a smaller part. And it's just the thing that there are no bigger parts. It's all one giant part with everybody helping each other.
I just feel like if you have a passion for this business and you can have the type of personality that gels with other people and you're willing to be productive and do what you're asked to do, I feel like there is a place for everybody. If you've got the drive and you have the passion to do what's necessary to be a part of it, I feel like everybody has a job, and sometimes you may not be in the right chair. It's the job of management. It's the job of people like myself to make sure everybody is in the correct chair.
Yeah.
That's how I was. I started out as a fan, coming to the shows. I actually found the show through two men when I was watching independent promotions in Amarillo. Two men by the name of, y'all guys know one of them, Damian Blood, who you guys all know, and then by a man by the name of Floyd Briggs, who Rick is familiar with. I saw their two match, and I was talking to them outside, and they told me about this promotion here in Lubbock. Well, I moved to Lubbock. I came to a show, and I've been hooked ever since. Went to a couple shows, became a fan. Then I got on. Rick let me get on as security. Kind of did that for about a year. Then our show went under. Security? Yeah, I was security here for a while. So Rick remembers that. And then whenever our show went under for temporarily, I was like that. We're coming back up. And then Rick offered me my position that I currently have right now, which is backstage, which that actually came about by me just in the back with a bunch of guys. Patch was one of them.
Matter of fact, I got a question for you.
What's
When
that?
you gonna get a new suit, man?
But it works. It's the tech colors.
As long as he washes the suit, he can use it once every 60 days. I'm fine with it.
It's the nicest thing I own. It's my nicest suit.
Yeah, I know. I've seen your house.
Well, he also,
Shut up.
He also doesn't get paid enough at SCP to afford a new suit.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, you go to the thrift shop.
Real quick before we get off here, I wanted to, you know, I do this personal thing on here. I wanted to know, I think I might already know your answer, but I ask everybody who's on here. See, to me and everybody else that has their favorite wrestler, and then in their opinion, the greatest wrestler of all time. Now, I've made it clear mine is my favorite's Brock, but the greatest in my opinion is Triple H. And I'd like to get your opinion on it. Reggie and I have already done ours, but I'd like
My
to get
personal
yours.
favorite, and then, in my opinion, the greatest of all time.
Yes.
My personal favorite is going to go back to my childhood, and it's going to go back to characters.
Okay.
The wrestler that I used to love more than anything else in the world and would watch his matches regardless and cheer for him like crazy was the Missing Link.
Missing Link.
I absolutely love the Missing Link.
WCCW.
Yep. Well, yep. He had a small run in WWF. Right at the Rock and Wrestling Connection.
Yeah.
Small couple of months. But I was always sad that he didn't do more, that he wasn't a bigger star. I feel like if that gimmick had come along during the Monday Night Wars, he would have been huge.
Yep.
Also, he's Dewey Robertson was his name.
Yeah.
He's the trainer of Sean Morley, Val Venus.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, but no, that's my all-time favorite. Now, who I believe is the best of all time?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's from a box office perspective. There's from a worker perspective.
Right.
There's from a talking perspective. And then there's from a selling perspective. For me, there's 4 different aspects of that.
Okay.
And the only person that I can think of who absolutely embodied all 4 of them for me, and I believe was somebody who absolutely transcended the entire industry, is probably The Rock.
The Rock.
And I'll say
Agreed.
that. I'll say it because the man could work. He could sell. He could bump.
Yep.
God knows he can talk.
Oh, yeah.
He transcended the entire industry, and even as a guy who makes $15 to $20 million a picture, and is probably the highest paid guy in Hollywood right now,
Yeah.
he can still come back and put people over.
Oh, yeah.
He never forgets where he came from.
Okay.
And not many people still do that. Not many people are willing to do that. I know that the easy answers is to say things like, well, Ric Flair's greatest of all time.
That's what I thought
Shawn
you were going to
Michaels is
say.
greatest of all time. And I do think that, you know, if you were saying who was the greatest technical in-ring wrestler of all time, and that's the only thing you're talking about, then I am going to say Ric Flair.
Okay.
Because Flair could have a match with a pencil
Yeah.
and make you believe the pencil's going to win.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But when I'm talking about the whole enchilada transcending the industry,
Yeah.
I honestly believe The Rock.
Yeah, I never even considered
No,
The Rock
neither
really.
did
I considered The Rock.
Even for his short time period.
Yeah.
And if I think if Steve Austin, if Stone Cold was a little more personable in the sense that he would regularly come back to help, I think he's a little selfish at times. He comes off that way to me.
Yeah.
I would almost say him because he is a huge reason why the business got so big in the 90s. You know, but I don't know. The Rock for me, I think he's.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
All right.
What about you, Josh?
Real quick, I got about 5 minutes left, so let's talk.
Honestly, my personal favorite of all time would have
Go
to
ahead and
be.
say Reggie Lincoln.
I was gonna say Father Farrell.
Well,
Go ahead and say Reggie Lincoln, man. You know you want to.
Personally, my personal favorite of all time would be Sting, just because he was the biggest face of his generation. The guy, I don't think his entire career. I don't think he was ever a heel.
Golden era and
I don't think he was ever a heel his entire time. He was the guy you loved.
Right.
And then-
Real quick, can you plug your next show, the next Square.
Oh, yes. The next Squared Circle Pro event is July 22nd at Jake's, and that is the 2017 Human Chess Tournament.
Okay, cool. All right, well, Rick, thank you very much for being on the show. And
Thank you.
I know we got that meeting we got to do here in a second, so let me get Josh wrapped up. All right, so go ahead, Josh. You said that your
Sting, my all-time favorite is Sting, just because of what he did in the ring. He was the one that everyone loved. He was space his entire career. He was just the all-time great. Now, I think the greatest wrestler of all time, this is just my opinion, would be Shawn Michaels. The matches he would have, the stuff he would do in the ring, the kind of shows he would do.
Reg and I actually talked about that. We called Shawn the greatest.
Argue with you over
we called Shawn the greatest in-ring performer.
Definitely.
But Rick also had a good point about all around.
Yeah,
all around,
agreed.
You know?
And on that one, I would agree with Rick. Rock would definitely.
Well, I gotta say, I agree that The Rock is up there, but I mean, you're not gonna change my mind about Triple H because if you look at everything.
Oh no, I love
gotta
Triple
say
H.
Triple H. I mean, you go from being a mere employee to running the whole enchilada.
Yeah, that's because he's screwing the boss's wife or daughter. Sorry.
What's that genius? It's genius. That's genius, man. How do I ensure a job forever at this company?
Yeah. Tonight is Squared Circle Pro Ring Wars episode 34 here at Jake's Back Room in Lubbock, Texas. If you get a chance, come out tonight and see Father Padge, Big Time Reggie Lincoln. Hell, even see Josh Ryan here.
Add Josh Ryan on Facebook, man.
Yeah, add Josh Ryan on Facebook.
Awesome interviews.
Yeah.
I take a lot of the views from this guy sitting next to me, so
Yeah,
it's fun.
well, that's
I enjoy
me
it.
because you guys can't see, but this Father
Well, you gave me a little
Padge.
cut, Thomas.
But you know, this business is a family to all of us, and we all love it. And this is something special. You don't just get dropped into the wrestling business. You have to earn your way in.
Ain't that
And when
the truth?
you do, you're part of a family. And yeah, I mean, you got your guys like me who, you know, pick on a lot of the younger guys and stuff, and Reggie does too. And then you got the guys like Josh that get picked on. But at the end of the day, they know we're just fucking with them, and we would do anything for them.
Not really, but
Don't you undermine my point, Reggie. But anyway, so we got this production meeting we're going to do, so we're going to cut this episode a little bit short. But everybody, thanks for listening to the Big Time Holy Hour this
thanks
week.
to Rick Elsey. Thanks to Josh Ryan.
Yeah, Josh Ryan, Rick Elsey. We're in Lubbock, Texas, Square Circle Pro tonight. Remember, the next show is July 22nd, which is the Human Chess Tournament.
Part 2.
Part 2.
And make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram,
MySpace.
subscribe to us on YouTube.
Big Time Journey.
Big Time Journey, and then you can just type in Father Padge, and I'm the
Some of
only
my
one.
interviews are on his.
I'm the only one I know about. So, all right. Well, thanks for everybody listening. This is Father Padge, Big Time Reggie Lincoln, signing out with our special guest Josh Ryan, and
Thanks, guys.
Thanks again to Rick Elsey, and we'll see you guys next week.